Hello and welcome back to Nerdog Podcast, episode 98, and our annual Christmas episode. I'm Joseph, as usual, and together with me here I got Zombie.
Yo.
We were hoping that Ogre would appear, perhaps he appears later on. We don't know where the hell he's gone. And Blue is on a hiatus at the moment because of personal things.
Yeah.
So,
For the moment,
well,
it's just the two of us.
yeah. Well, we've done this before, so
Yeah. Old
and the show
business.
must go on, as a man with a great mustache once said. How are you doing today, Zombie?
I am doing just fine. I have no new changes in life. It's just going as usual. Just a lot with Christmas. Buying presents. And finding good presents and whatnot. So that's a bit much, but other than that, doing just like usual.
Yeah.
How about you?
Well, first off, I've changed my working schedule, my boss has changed my working schedule, so I'm working the day shift this weekend,
Ooh.
and I will work the evening shift next week, and so on and so on.
How's that been treating you?
Well, I feel like you're Nick.
Oh.
It took a while there. It's well, I'm gonna be completely honest. I fucking hate working the day shift. It's
Not
I mean,
your
I
cup of
got
tea.
yeah. I started working at a factory just so I could, work. Um,
Work and earn money.
Yeah, that too. But I started working at the factory because I wanted to work other schedules than the day shift. Work
Yeah,
evening or the graveyard shift.
yeah, and usually not a lot of jobs do offer that.
Yeah, unless it's a factory work.
Yeah,
But yeah, to be honest, I'm kind of pissed off at my boss. So
understandable. Have a great day.
yeah. But what can you do?
Not a lot. Just
No.
say that you hate the morning shift.
Yeah, basically. And I've been kind of sick for the past 1.5 week as well. Um,
Yeah, it's been going around a lot lately.
yeah, well, not this weekend. The were a couple of days ago, but the weekend before that, I honestly think I catch the Rona.
Oh no.
I mean, I was out for 3 days straight. I basically just got up to take a piss and drink some water, and then I went back to bed.
Yeah, and other
Eh,
than like a quick test, you can't really know for 100% sure if you had it or
yeah,
not.
yeah. Well, I haven't taken any test, but I mean, I've had a real man cold before, and I had the flu,
Yeah,
and this was neither of those. This was 10 times worse.
then it may as well have been.
Yeah. I'm actually pretty sure it was, and
Is it your first
uh,
time?
yeah,
Ah, that may explain why.
yeah, it was really fucking bad. And the week after and well up until now, I've been really sniffy, you know, and I've had a sore throat all day today as well. So I don't know. I haven't had a fever for about 1.5 weeks. So
Did
I
you
can't
keep
really
all your
stay.
senses though?
Yeah, I do.
Lucky.
But yeah, I'm not feeling 100% at the
Yeah,
moment.
understandable. And then there's this like extreme cold, or not extreme. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
extreme is. It's not really extreme. It's just that it came out of nowhere from having
yeah,
like very mild coldness from like 10 minus Celsius to like a few plus degrees to straight up 20 minus out of left
yeah.
field.
It's that Russian wolf winter
Yeah,
coldness. So yeah, I know what you mean.
it
It's
crept up
horrible.
on us.
Yeah, it's really horrible.
Oh yeah, it's not
But
fun, that's for sure.
no, it's not. I wish I I lived in a hotter country.
That or just simply more south than we currently are
Yeah,
in our part of
definitely,
Sweden.
definitely. But yes, have we announced which movies we're gonna talk about?
We have not at all mentioned any movies other
Oh,
than how we're
okay.
feeling.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we are covering two movies today, as we usually are on these Christmas episodes. The first one will be Toys of Terror from 2020, and the second one will be a non-horror movie from 2021 called Silent Night. There's a
That
reason we are covering that one this year, and we will explain that when we get there. But
yeah. Other than that, should we move on to recently seen or watched or read?
yeah. Uh, do you have anything?
Mm, I've started to listen to a new podcast, but I don't think it's like horror relevant. It's just another D&D podcast because I'm starting to
Okay.
collect them,
Yeah.
like Pokemon or something. So it's just another generic one. Just roll with it.
Well,
It's
sometimes that's what you need to listen to.
yeah, yeah.
Me personally, I'm trying to think here. Did I mention Fear the Walking Dead in the last episode? I can't remember.
I can't either.
Okay. Well, I rewatched season 4 of Fear the Walking Dead.
mm,
Um, and I started on season 5. It's a rewatch of that season as well.
mm.
But besides that, I haven't watched anything really.
Well, during the summertime, a few months back, I did listen to something that was kind of horror related. It was podcast in nature, but it wasn't really necessarily podcast because it was more like an audiobook with more than one person. You didn't have one voice voicing like every character, and they don't start with like he says, she said, and it's just more voices interacting with each other. I
Yeah.
think it's called Station Blue, and I haven't listened a whole lot to it because the volume on Spotify when listening to it is very low compared to other audios, so it's hard to listen to sometimes. But
Okay.
it's supposedly in the horror genre. And what I have listened of it, the quality is very good, and the premise is very interesting, because it's this guy, at the very least, what I've currently listened on it, in like an Arctic facility,
Station?
like station, no, Arctic station, research station, and he is just there alone for a start, just preparing it to be used again after, like, I think a few months of like non-use due to cold weather and whatnot. That premise alone is very horror-esque, I feel. And the way they...
What was it called again?
Station Blue, if I remember it correctly.
I recognize the name.
I do recommend it, even though it's... and that's like the only thing I have with it that made me like not continue it currently, but I will go back to it, is that the volume is low at times.
Okay. So the audio mixing is a bit so.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's very interesting at the very least.
Yeah, like I said, I recognize the title. I might have heard about it on some podcast. But the premise sounds a bit like The Thing. You know,
Yeah, that's what I thought as well.
Yeah, the with the whole Antarctic research station, with the isolation and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna look into that. It sounds interesting. Have you heard or have you listened to oh, what's it called? It's a pretty old podcast. It's a radio theater. It is horror action.
I don't believe I have. I haven't listened to a lot of horror because I haven't found a lot of ones.
We're Alive is the title. I think there's the original podcast, and then they've done two spin-offs. I listened to almost the entire original podcast, but I stopped for some reason. I'm gonna re-listen to it later on. But it's basically about a zombie outbreak, and you get to follow a bunch of survivors who, well, they try to survive.
Yeah, fair.
But it's really fucking good. You should check that one out. It's called We're Alive.
I'll listen to that.
It's a lot of action in there.
It sounds interesting.
Yeah.
So I'll definitely give that a listen while at work.
And speaking of The Thing, have you listened to or read Who Goes There?
I have not, but I do recognize that title.
It's the original novel, or not novel, short story, which The Thing is based on. I listened to it a couple of years back. I can't remember much about it, but the 1952 movie, I think it came out in 1952. The Thing from Another World is based on it. And John Carpenter's The Thing is based on the same short story, which is Who Goes There. And John Carpenter's movie is basically considered a remake of the 1952 movie, even though it's closer to the short story than the 1952 movie were. And we've done a episode on John Carpenter's The Thing and the
Yeah.
prequel that came out in 2011, I think.
I do remember that.
Mm,
I do remember those movies.
yeah,
Very memorable.
great stuff.
Indeed.
But yeah, besides that, I don't think I have anything else to say about recently seen or listened to or whatever. I've continued on with God of War Ragnarok as well.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
I don't know how many hours I got into it now, like 37 or 38 perhaps.
What do you think about it so far?
I love it. It's it's the best game of 2022, hands down, without a doubt.
Mm,
I mean,
nice.
I'm almost 40 hours into it, and I really hope that I got at least 20 more hours
Yeah.
to play. So,
Hopefully.
but and I mean, I usually don't, get emotional when I play video games, even though it's
Yeah.
supposed to make me emotional.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, there were a couple of cutscenes when I got a bit wet in the corner of my eye while I was
That's
playing the
unusual.
game. Yeah, it's
They've done something right there.
yeah, it's really fucking good. It's yeah, they've taken everything good from God of War 2018 and refined
Mm.
the stuff that I I think they've
They
refined the things I thought were a bit lackluster in the 2018 game.
yeah. They did what not a lot of like game developers do and look at what actually worked on the first game and
Well,
not or first, but the first of like this series of
yeah,
the gods in a sense because they were Greek gods before and now
yeah.
were in the Nordic ones. So they looked at what worked, what didn't, and went with that. Unlike some others, I
Yeah, well,
can't any off the top of my head, but yeah,
for example, in the 2018 game, sure there were a lot of bosses in there,
yeah,
but most of the bosses were the same boss, just recycled with a new name and a new color, basically.
mm,
In Ragnarök, there's tons and tons and tons of different bosses,
yeah,
and yeah, it's yeah. I can't really express how fucking good the game is.
highly
It's a
recommended.
it's 11 out of 10 game for me. I fucking love it.
Nice. Well, that's good to hear.
Mm,
I have heard a lot of praise about the game, so
yeah.
and like the only flack I've truly heard about it was before it was released, when they released the design for Thor, and boy were some people mad about that.
Oh yeah, you mean the design of Thor?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
well,
how
people are fucking idiots. They thought they were gonna get
because
the Marvel Thor.
yeah,
I mean,
and I think it's also because of like how Kratos is designed that you have and what everyone's perception of Thor is this strong, intimidating dude, and a lot of people can't envision a guy that
Thor,
is on the fair side to be strong and intimidating because
Well,
they
Thor in the original mythology was a big fat slob. I
and
mean,
also
in the mythology, he ate a whole pig by
yeah,
himself.
and also I do like what they, because I have seen the design of him. I do like that they didn't just make him fat, but they also build him a lot like a strong man.
He's fucking huge in the game. He
Yeah,
makes Kratos look like a dwarf.
yeah. But also they do still give him muscle in places where like it
Oh yeah,
matters,
oh
like
yeah.
the arms, the legs.
The thing is that you don't fuck with Thor in the
Oh
game.
no.
He's a force to be reckoned with. But
Well,
yeah, it's
well now I gotta buy the game. Goddamn! I don't have money for this. What are you doing?
You should play the 2018 game at least to understand
Oh yeah,
Ragnarok, because there's Ragnarok is a direct sequel. If you
yeah,
start playing Ragnarok without playing the 2018 game, you won't understand much of the plot.
yeah. That's a bit as expected. But I
Yeah.
feel like if I'm gonna start the God of War series, I do wish to like go from the beginning to know like
Mm.
the character that you're playing.
Yeah, Kratos.
Yeah, because I do know of his like backstory, but it's another thing to like know of it and play through it.
Which I have.
Yeah.
I played through all of the games besides Ragnarok. I'm actually thinking about doing a God of War-a-thon on Twitch at some point and just play through all of the games on stream.
Sounds nice.
But
Do
yeah,
it.
yes.
But let's move on
Yeah.
from all of this. We're almost half an hour in.
Mm. All right. So here is the trailer for Toys of Terror.
This is a family trip, and we should spend it as a family.
Sounds cheerful.
Greetings, Cashman family.
Be careful up there, Emmett.
How far from civilization are we?
Very. And that's the point.
Everybody listen up. This is a beautiful house, but it's old. So there are parts that are unsafe.
Do you think there's anything messed up about this house? I found this toy and it was just sitting there. This was a children's hospital.
Are there other toys here?
I'm a raptor.
Terrifying. You don't want to bring those dirty old things, do you? Guys? What did you mean before about the house?
I thought I saw a little kid. It said, run.
Run. Why did this place close down?
Years ago, a little boy died. His mother couldn't accept it. She went mad with grief. On Christmas morning, found all of the children had been killed.
We're going to get you. We're going to get you.
Don't listen to them!
Mommy said you had a baby and something happened.
A family has bought a since-long closed-down children's hospital up in the mountains with a simple purpose to renovate it and sell it when they're done. While they are working on the place, they decided to spend Christmas there as well, unknowingly that the old hospital has a dark secret, a secret that is out for blood. Okay, so I went into this film thinking that it would be in the same shitty style as something the Asylum would have produced. And it was partially distributed by Sci-Fi, the TV channel.
Yeah.
And Sci-Fi has a history of producing and putting out these low-budget crap movies in the same style as the Asylum. So my expectations on the movie wasn't that high when I went into it, to be honest. And sure, the production values aren't the highest, but as a low-budget made-for-TV horror movie, I think it's better than I initially thought it would be. I mean, the movie in itself turned out to be a slow burn chiller. Which I thought it felt more like a violent full-length feature movie of an Goosebumps episode in a horror movie for adults, to be honest.
Oh yeah.
I was really surprised how little blood and gore there were in the film.
Like, it was so very slow.
Yeah, well, I expected it to have a lot more carnage in it than it has.
And
yeah.
And like, other than like the carnage, it just didn't give like a sense of dread or like fear for the characters. For the most part, it just went along, and then sure things were happening, but none of it like set a sense of like, ooh, something's bad's gonna happen. I don't know how to describe it. It was very. It's a fine movie, but.
Yeah, I mean, I had a pretty good time watching it, to be honest. Like I said, I went into the film thinking that, oh god, this is gonna be worse than Death Forest, basically.
Yeah. Ooh, that says a lot.
Yeah. But it's far from a 10 out of 10 movie. I'm not saying that it's something that I'm gonna run my legs off to rewatch anytime soon. But
it's not terrible.
Yeah, but I think it had enough to like with about it to be a decent watch. For example, I liked most of the characters.
Yeah.
Even though some of them did some really stupid fucking decisions throughout the film, of course. It is a horror movie, after all. Yeah, and I mean, most of the characters felt real. Especially the teenage daughter who really didn't want to spend Christmas with her family in this old, dusty fucking child hospital in the middle of absolutely nowhere.
Yeah, with no internet and...
Yeah, and some video game from 1979 or something.
Yeah.
I mean, she was a bit annoying at the beginning, sure.
But then you like found out why she was like so mad, and it was like, oh yeah, that's totally how a kid that like got duped by their one parent and got stuck with the other.
Yeah,
would like react.
She felt like a real teenager.
Yeah,
I mean, but when I was at that age, I would have probably reacted the same if I were in her shoes. I mean,
yeah, and like she wasn't like 100% all the time like Dick, like some teen characters are like portrayed.
Yeah,
she had her moments where she was like vulnerable and just chill. She wasn't like 24/7 mad, like some people are, but not all the time.
I mean, she could have been written so bad
Yeah.
that you would have just wanted to see her die. But I didn't get that feeling while I was watching the film. I mean, sure, she was an annoying teenager, but I mean, who hasn't been one?
Yeah.
She felt real, like all of the other characters. Even though, like I said, some of them did some really stupid fucking decisions, and
Yeah, but
there were some cliches here and there, like when the family friend heard a voice in the attic, and he was like, "Oh, there must be a child over there. Need to say no."
yeah. And
I
also,
mean,
like, the final death felt very...
yeah, that I saw that coming as soon as she started
As
to
she-
climb that thing outside of the hospital.
I didn't see it as soon, but the second she stood there, like, and it felt like, oh yeah, she's gonna die that way, and
Yeah.
then the second never stopped standing there and just never moved
Yeah.
further in. Like, sure, the floor is unstable, but move away from the open window. For God's sake, go to a corner or something. Like,
Yeah, well, the reason I saw it coming that far ahead was because she was the only character in the movie that had a tragic past.
yeah, and also she was the only one that was like that didn't have any real ties to the
Yeah.
people. Like,
Yeah.
sure, she was a friend, she was a good nanny, and she was the only one like someone the teen could like turn to at times. But she wasn't anyone's mom, she wasn't anyone's sister, she didn't have any blood ties in any way, shape or form. So like they could get away with it. Also with the fact that the way they set it up, she would be the least sad one to have died. Wait a second. Sorry about that, I am back.
Yes.
But yeah, as I was saying, she was the one character that could die other than the family friend that wasn't like as tragic as it would have been if any of they died.
Yeah.
And since they had already killed the family friend, she was the only target left.
Also, the ending was pretty fitting. It reminded me a bit of Mama,
Yeah.
with the whole, she dying and she takes care of the souls of the children,
Yeah.
kind of thing, you know.
Yeah, and that's why she was the perfect victim, because the way they were talking about, let's join the other children, it felt more obvious that she was gonna die, because she would be the only one to like benefit from that.
Yeah.
As the only like childless one that do want children. And those are all orphans, most likely.
Yeah.
So it's a win-win situation, even if
Yeah.
it ends up in death.
Yeah, it's kind of like in Mama with it's a good ending, but at the same time, it's pretty
It's a
dark.
tragic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a tragic ending.
It's a bittersweet ending.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Bittersweet ending. Yeah, exactly. Another thing I liked with the movie was the music, which I thought was really beautiful, but at the same time haunting in a Christmas kind of way.
Yeah.
It fit the movie, and
It did.
I think we should touch upon the effects of the film as well.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
What did you think about them?
Well, it felt very lacking in a lot of places, I felt. Some did work, some were good, but the first time you see any like real danger, such as the dragon popping up, that felt very. That did put me out of the movie for a moment, because for this day and age, it felt very.
Yeah, I guess you're not very used to stop motion animations.
No.
Yeah.
Other than
Well-
like stop motion movies that are made that way, it's. I'm not really used to seeing it as a special effect in a movie. No.
Yeah. In a live action movie, yeah.
Yeah.
I personally actually liked the stop motion animations of the toys. I mean, sure, it of course makes the movie look a lot more dated than what it is.
Yeah, it looked
I
a
mean,
bit like bad CGI in some places.
yeah, but it was stop motion.
Yeah, but because like in certain moments, or like most of the time, it did work. It was just in some places it was so glaringly like mostly. It was the dragon that was the problem, because most of the other toys, it worked, but that dragon did not want to work with the style.
I much more prefer that they used that kind of animation over shitty made-for-TV CGI.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many made-for-TV movies that are made after, say, 2000.
Yeah.
That have these these dreadful CGI effects that they usually stand out like a really sore thumb, you know.
Yeah.
It's almost like getting nails in your eyes while you're watching it.
Yeah. And like for most of the characters, such as the elf and the action man figure, it worked really well for them, as it matched the way a toy would move.
Yeah, they were a bit jerky in their movements, you know.
Yeah, and it worked to their benefit.
Yeah.
But I think more than the animation, what disturbed me more, or disturbed, what irked me is the way they talked. Because they used very modern language, although it felt like they would have more of a dated kind of speech due to both the age of the toys and their lack of human interaction, in a way.
Yeah, I actually didn't think about that, but
And like how much they swore and whatnot. Like, sure, swearing is fine, but it felt like, even if they're evil toys, it felt very weird for like evil toys to do that.
yeah, it actually, yeah. Now when you say it, it felt a bit out of place. I mean, this is not a Chucky movie by any means.
Yeah.
So
It just felt like, especially when they did it like around the children, mostly because they were around the children, because they tried to like entrance them to make like, oh, we're good toys, listen to us, we're fun, and it felt like them swearing was very counteractive to that. To like
the whole movie, or the whole concept of the toys trying to get the children to, you know, jump out of the window. It reminds me of I can't remember if it's a creepypasta or if it's just a horror story I've heard in a podcast, perhaps in No Sleep podcast. I think the story is called something like Mr. Big Nose or something like that. And it's about this kid that's befriends a I kind of guess he's a house gnome, I think it is. And I think his name is Mr. Big Nose or something like that. And this house gnome tries to get this kid to commit suicide.
Oh, lovely.
By luring him out of a window from like the third floor or something. In the house he's living in. And this movie reminded me a bit about that story.
I can see why. I just I have no real issues with the movie. I just felt like it moved a bit slow and
Yeah, like I said, it's a slow burn chiller.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that this is a straight up horror movie. It's a bit too
Definitely not.
violent for the younger audiences.
Too
Like
much
kids
swearing,
who,
too.
yeah, uh, like kids who watch Goosebumps, for example, or Are You Afraid of the Dark, or you know,
Something similar.
kid horror TV series. But it's not. It doesn't have enough violence nor adult themed horror things in it to be
Yeah.
a scary movie for adults.
Like the suspense were very lackluster. It
Yeah.
it didn't have a lot of suspense in it.
I think the movie, if the movie had been like 10 minutes shorter, I think it would have benefited the film, because like you said, it gets a bit slow, really slow, at a couple of parts, and it doesn't really. There's really nothing happening in those parts.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like it's not a horrible movie, but it had its point that is very good and it works for the movie, but also those points where it could have been better. But
Yeah.
for what
I mean-
it is, it does work.
Yeah, it's nowhere near a masterpiece by any means. But I personally thought it's a cozy little chiller, which I
Yeah.
enjoyed. But like I said, I don't think I'll have any great hurry to rewatch it anytime soon. But on the other hand, it could have been a hell of a lot worse than what it is.
Yeah.
And another thing as well, I personally have a really, really, really soft spot for horror movies, in which toys gets to life in one way or another and starts to wreak havoc, which might have upped the rating a little bit for me personally. I mean,
Yeah.
I just find these type of movies fun, even at their worst.
That's fair.
Which Toys of Terror is far from.
Yeah.
But like we already said, it's a bit slow, yes, but it has enough going for it that it makes it a decent watch, I think.
Yeah. So what will your rating be?
7.5 out of 10.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah. But like I said, I have a soft spot for these type of films. It's
Yeah.
there's a lot worse
Yeah.
toys wreaking havoc horror movies out there. So,
They are a select few.
what will your rating be?
This will make me look like the bad guy, but nah. Mine will be 5 out of 10, simply because like just like how you do like these kind of movies, it didn't necessarily pique my interest. It wasn't bad, which is why it gets the 5, but it just wasn't. It didn't grab my attention, which is why I noticed more of the slow pace, the lack of like suspense and everything.
Yeah.
So it is a fine movie, and if you like those kind of movies, go watch it, because it may not be the greatest, but it's far from bad. But yeah, it just wasn't in. It didn't pique my interest to go watch it like anytime again. I'm fine with having watched it. I don't think that's a waste of time, but I'm not gonna rush back to watch it.
It's not the last Thanksgiving all over again.
Oh no! Oh no! Between that movie and this, I'll watch this like 5 times over, because this had actually characters that you liked, actors that could actually act out those characters well. It had villains that wasn't stupid and more capable, even though they ultimately failed. And they had more interesting villains too, and just plot in general. Where, yes, people were stupid, but they weren't like, oh no, what are we gonna do? Am I gonna do this stupid thing or that stupid thing? It's just a combination of bad choices rather than active stupidity.
Yeah, well, the last Thanksgiving can fuck right off.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Piece of shit.
And like, it didn't have like a lot of times that where you started to like question the characters, because they acted pretty much within what you would expect of them.
Yeah. I mean, the characters followed the formula of stupid horror movie characters, sure.
Yeah, and like,
but I didn't want to choke the ever-loving fuck out of them while I was watching the film.
yeah, you weren't like, oh, they're gonna die soon. Oh, better be painful. But yeah, and even though some characters did act like dicks towards each other, it was very easy to see why it didn't come out of left field, such as the mother/stepmother, where she was confronted by the teen and the nanny, where you had very much clearly seen throughout the movie that she wanted to spend time with her kids, couldn't, and then envied the nanny for being able to do so, in a way. Because she wanted to put her kids to sleep, but work. So the nanny had to do it, who took, because of her love for children, great pleasure in doing so, because this was her way of being a mom. And then having the teen, which didn't like the stepmom, that, and the stepmom wanting to be liked by her, seeing both of them gang up on her, would feel naturally very defensive about the situation, and she do feel apologetic later, and that the way she apologized felt also very genuine, because like the nanny saying, oh no, you don't have to, but oh yes I do, like I was in the wrong.
Yeah.
But her lashing out and being momentarily dickish felt very warranted for her character.
Yeah. One thing that they could have... Well, They perhaps could have rewritten the stepmother character a little bit with
Yeah.
The whole, you know, she knew there was something, there was a dark past about the hospital had a dark past, and she knew
Yeah.
about it, and she wasn't telling anyone until the shit started to hit the fan. They could have written her a little bit different, so she, you know, when they started to talk about there's something wrong with this place, she could have just, you know, started to tell everyone, okay, so this place has dark history and blah 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 yada yada yada.
Yeah, like maybe tell them, but her still being in denial in a way. Like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, this bad stuff happened, but what are you on about? These are natural explanation to all these bad stuff happening. Don't correlate bad history of the house with bad stuff happening now.
Yeah.
They could have made her
exactly.
reason like that.
Exactly.
And still have her not necessarily believing them, but still like sharing. And maybe if they wanted to so hard go down the way they did almost hint at a reason for why she did it. Where like she didn't want to tell them because people don't want to buy the house, but it also felt like there was some underlying other stuff where she didn't want to tell them. I can't, like, on the top of my head remember any specific scenes in which it happened, but I do distinctly remember her either in that confrontation or later in the movie, like, just mention something that could have related to her past, simply put.
Yeah.
That either went bad or was bad. That could have been like maybe a relevant thing to, just like how the nanny had a miscarriage due to sickness, and they could have given her a reason to like try to keep it from the family.
Yeah.
Not that it necessarily needed or could have been like a good explanation, but it could have been just an explanation.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, for a Christmas scary movie, simply put, yeah, alright. We don't have like abundance of them.
Like I said, it could have been a hell of a lot worse than what it is.
Yeah. And I think our perspectives are also vastly different due to our expectations going into the movie, because you expected the absolute worst. I just went in like I do with any other movie, like if I don't have an inkling of history of them, like, I bet it's gonna be like alright or good.
Yeah.
Which is why you were amazingly like, wow, this doesn't actually suck ass.
Yes,
where I'm like, huh, that wasn't as good as I expected it to be. Kinda like reactions watching this movie.
That's pretty accurate, actually. But yeah,
I did watch that for it.
But yeah, it's an alright film. I mean,
Yeah,
we could have covered something a hell of a lot worse, because I've seen a lot worse Christmas horror movies than this. So
yeah.
but yeah, should we move into background for Toys of Terror? Perhaps I don't have that much, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's still a very new movie, so yeah.
Yeah, well, there are usually stuff to pick up. Even though it's a really new movie, there's usually some background.
Yeah.
But I really struggled to find anything about this one. It was
Do
released. Yeah, it was released digitally on October 27 in 2020. And it premiered on the Sci-Fi Channel on December 12th of the same year. And the last thing I got about the film is that scriptwriter, this is a man, by the way, Dana Gold, I think that's how you pronounce his last name. He has previously worked on the Gex video game series. Gex is basically a platformer video game series, from what I've seen. He worked on that series both as a writer, and he also did the voice work for the main character Gex. And he has also appeared in a lot of TV series and smaller roles here and there. For example, he appeared in the anthology horror movie Tales of Halloween. Didn't you guys cover that on a mini-sode a couple of years back?
I do believe we did a few years back.
I think so.
Me and Blue.
Yeah. Huh. And he also appeared in 6 episodes of The Simpsons. Which character I can't remember, but yeah.
Neat.
But that's everything I got on Toys of Terror, unfortunately.
That wasn't a whole lot. You didn't lie.
No.
That is a.
The funny thing is that I usually take like 30 minutes or something to dig around. I sat about an hour and searched around for things on Toys of Terror, but I couldn't come up with much. So
that says a lot. Like, what? Why is all this information so hidden?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, yeah.
It's a mystery for another day.
Yeah. Maybe.
And my nose is, as we are speaking, getting stuffy. So my voice will be very different from how we started to how we ended.
Okay. Should we roll the trailer for the next movie then?
Yes, well then what is the next movie, in case our listeners forgot?
Silent Night from 2021, and here is the trailer for it.
You look perfect. Fly!
Did you bleed on the carrots?
Will I die?
Yep, probably.
Grandma!
Happy Christmas.
You're still alive?
Yes, I think so.
Jesus, they're early.
Tony and Simon robbed the petrol station.
Oh, what fun.
We make tremendous criminals.
I felt so good.
We're all getting old.
Well, we were getting old.
It's just one potato each.
Just one for everyone.
Did anyone watch the Queen's speech?
Well, she's clearly in some bunker set up, you know, filled with tins of baked beans and dog food.
Here's to the lives that we've shared. To our beautiful children. Our beautiful friends. May we rest in peace.
I just think we should be honest with the kids.
We know the Russians want us all dead. They're sending poisonous gas to kill us all in the morning. It's not the Russians, it's the planet. It's very upset.
It will kill anything and anyone that is still alive.
We should have all voted green.
We just want to make sure that you understand that as your parents, we are not to blame. Clearly, it's not your fault either.
can't help living like that.
Nell, her husband Simon, and their sons Art, Hardy, and Thomas are ready to welcome their friends and family to what they promise will be the perfect Christmas gathering. Perfect besides the fact that everyone is going to die.
So, as we previously mentioned in the beginning, this isn't necessarily a horror movie, and that and the reason why we are covering is because while we were looking for Christmas related horror movies to watch, this one did in fact show up, and on IMDb it was categorized as a horror movie, and it is on various streaming services.
Yeah, I actually, after I had seen the movie, and this is kind of a spoiler of what I think of the film, but after I had seen the movie, I ordered it on Blu-ray. And on the Blu-ray copy I got, it says comedy horror. And
Wow.
I personally don't consider this horror at all.
No. Oh no. It's certainly...
It is definitely partially a comedy.
Very British humor.
Yeah, the first 20 or so minutes were a laugh riot for me. I was laughing my fucking ass off.
I can imagine.
I mean, I always chuckle when I hear British people argue. Since, you know, they use words like cunt, arsehole, and they tell each other to piss off, and, you know.
Oh, yeah. Especially the children. So casually.
Yeah, it would have been one thing if they just ramped it up, you know. But they are so casual in how they talk to each other, like, piss off.
Yeah, like...
She called me an arsehole. And, but after the prologue, so to speak, the first 20 or so minutes of the film, I basically choked on my own laughter when I started to realize what the movie really was about and where things were going. Even though Silent Night is not a horror movie, it's definitely a horrific movie.
Yeah, it's very dark.
It is pitch black dark.
It's a very dark subject.
Yeah.
Like,
and the contrast of, you know, starting off the film as a sort of like a you know the beginning of Krampus, which we I think we covered that last year.
Yeah.
How they are in that movie, like they're arguing with each other. It has sort of the same vibe to it.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the film.
Like, it's a family gathering, they don't necessarily get along, but it's Christmas, so they make do.
Yeah, well, they have to make do because it's Christmas, even though they don't really want to be with each other on Christmas.
Yeah.
But then when you start to understand why they are celebrating Christmas together, you know.
Yeah, and like, it also makes some things in the beginning, like, make sense, such as, like, oh no, we don't have any pudding, like, oh no, what we're gonna do? Oh, just go and rob the store. Here, take a mallet. And it was like, wait, are they serious? What's going on? And like, hey, Grandma, we robbed the store. Like, at that point, like, of course they would, like, be casual about such a thing.
Yeah. And, I mean, even though most of the characters weren't really likable. I can't really say that I liked any of them besides perhaps what was his name again? Artie?
Art.
Oh yeah, Art. But on the other hand, I can understand why they were written like that to some degree.
Yeah, and
on one hand, they know they're all going to die, so I kind of guess they're supposed to be unlikable because they don't really see the point in being nice to each other anymore.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if they are about to die, so why not try to be as kind as you can to your loved ones?
Yeah. But at the same time, they did show like that thing where they disagree with each other, or some things that in a normal movie would have caused huge drama and whatnot. It didn't in this movie, either because like they just that's behind us, or because like we're gonna die anyway. It's no use in getting upset over this. Such as the scene where...
Perhaps I'm just overthinking it, but that was something that struck me while I was watching the film. But yeah, I kind of guess they argue at first, and then they, says just fuck it.
Yeah, such as that couple with the kid, where the mom is like to one of the friends in the gathering, like, I wanted to screw you so bad, and I still do. And then it comes forward that the husband actually did screw, like, I think the sister. And it went by so casually, like, I just did it to help you and whatnot. So in a way, I helped you get together, and that's that. They didn't have a screaming match. They didn't like walk off to cool down, and then towards the end where they were all gonna die, they didn't look at each other with resentment. They were like, well, this is it.
What are we gonna do about it?
Yeah, and it still felt like they cared about each other, even though like these new revelations came to light.
Yeah.
And even though it might as well have been like, as I said, we're all gonna die, what's the point? It still felt somewhat like mature in a way, that they didn't explode with emotions. Some people definitely do, but at the same time, they didn't like explode it in a very recognizable like movie way. And
yeah,
they
didn't really follow the formula. Yeah,
they just
or the typical formula for this type of, because the movie is essentially a dark drama with comedy elements in it.
Yeah. What one would think like it could have very easily gone the American way, where that was the point of the humor, rather than the Brits way of the dark parts being part of the humor.
Yeah.
Such as in the very end you could still see the British part of the humor where they're all preparing to die, but the kids' colas are cold and they have been shaken up, so the dad has to run back and forth, having a mental breakdown through it all.
In the middle of this really serious and dark and depressing situation, they managed to squeeze in a joke. I was actually chuckling. Well, let's see what's going. Because on one hand, sure, you can understand why the dad wanted to give them what they wanted for the last time.
But also, it was a very, like, I want to get this over with because this is so emotionally taxing on me.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I don't want to drag it out because
even though the scene was funny, it had this really emotional thing about it as well.
The funny part was he had to run back and forth, but the emotional part was how distressed he became each and every time, and you could actively see him just.
And for those who hasn't seen the movie, we will spoil the ever-loving shit out of the ending.
Yeah.
So if you haven't seen it, please go and watch it. I can say it right now. I think this is a great movie.
Yeah.
I think this is a really, really great movie. So if you haven't seen it, please go and watch it and then come back and continue listening. Because we will spoil the shit out of the ending. And this isn't really a spoiler, but the reason these people are going to die is because I think it was the Russians who has...
They blame the Russians a lot.
Yeah.
But it was unsure about what it was, if it was a natural cause, because it was
there's some sort of what's it called?
A poisonous wind.
Yeah,
was
exactly.
Coming, and it was airborne, so everything was affected. The air, the water, everything. And so you couldn't just get away from it.
No. It is basically a apocalyptic event.
Yeah. Put in a very different format.
Yeah. I mean, I really like the plot of the film. Mainly because of how dark it is when you start to think about what the movie really is about.
Yeah, and what they're talking about, and thinking back on it, once you realize how casual everyone is being about it.
Yeah.
Because of it has been expected for so long.
Yeah. And even though I saw the ending coming way before it happened, I highly enjoyed it because of the really super pitch black, dark, and ironic nature of it.
Oh yeah.
It could have easily been in an episode of Tales from the Crypt or any of those anthology horror series. And here comes the ending. The family and their friends take this pill which will kill them in like 5 minutes or something.
Yeah. Given to them by the government due to the inevitability of the death, and so the government gave them these die quick pills in order for everyone to not suffer through the poisonous gas.
Yeah, exactly. Only problem is that Art, the son of the family, inhaled this poisonous gas, and he got some cramps, and he started to bleed.
Spasms.
But the movie ends with him waking up, and he survived the poisonous gas, but everyone else died.
Yeah.
What did you think about the ending?
I really did like it. Because it was very foreshadowed by Art himself and
Yeah.
everything. And for a second, I did not believe that it would go down that route. Right just before it, when the family sees him and just panics, and it
Yeah,
felt like
yeah.
it could very well have ended where he was the one that didn't want to take the pill, and then he's the one to die first.
Yeah.
Due to the gas that he wasn't sure would kill him. Because he was adamant that maybe you could survive it because you didn't know if it did kill you or not. And so it felt...
Yeah.
It felt like if they went down that route, it would have still worked due to the fact that he wasn't sure if it was actually poisoned because he had that sliver of hope. And then he was the first one to be taken by it.
Yeah.
In an ironic sense.
When the ending came, I just shouted out, "I fucking knew it!"
Wow. And like, yeah, it's a very fitting ending. It's extremely dark considering how you see earlier in the movie how he reacts to just strangers in a car dead. Like,
Yeah,
sure,
that scene is pretty out there.
Oh yeah, it's so out there. Just, and also it's understandable how that he would react the way he reacted, considering what we had seen at that point of his character, and the fact that it also was a baby in the car.
Yeah, that thing really is, you know.
Yeah.
It got me when I saw that.
It just hammered in the reality of everything. Like, sure, it's extremely sad that these parents have to do it with their kids, and the reality that they will do it, like, with their kids and everything, and make their kids do it. And yeah, you don't think further back to babies and everything else.
Yeah, but at the same time, the ending of the film has the like I said, it has that ironic nature.
Yeah, of him being right, of him being the sole survivor, and that even she who wasn't sure she was gonna take it took it, and now he did survive, and now he's alone, surrounded by dead people.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the darker endings I've seen in a movie for a long time.
And I still like that it had its darkness, it had its sorrow, and it still managed to have the humor of it all, even through the deaths, with both the family and both families, such as when Kitty, which is the girl of the second family that came to visit, like, "Oh no, my doll!" And the parents like, "Oh no, I don't feel my legs. Wait, come back, die and die like a family." and that, which is funny, but then they bring it right back to she comes back with her doll and they're already dead.
Yeah,
and she lost her voice due to the pill, also dying, and she just presses the doll that her father gave her, which says in her voice, "I love you, Daddy." Like, that, it worked. They made it work so well. Both made it funny and then heartbreaking. And then they just straight up made it funny with the gay couple.
The funny bits in this movie aren't in your face. It's a bit more subtle.
What really does it for me is that what most, I would say, most American movies and just
if this was an American movie, you can bet your ass on that it wouldn't have any comedy elements whatsoever in it, and these characters would probably be bickering with each other and shouting and crying and you know, yada yada yada.
Or if it was a comedy, it wouldn't have been as dark.
No.
I like this type of comedy that they brought because what it does do with it is very well, and what a lot of other comedy movies do, which make me hate comedy movies to a certain degree, is that this movie did rely on second-hand embarrassment as their form of comedy.
Yeah, I know you.
Because I hate it. I cringe so hard. I can't watch movies where they rely on second-hand embarrassment as their comedy, and this one didn't do that. I love it for it, and like that isn't what.
The type of comedy I like is British comedy.
British comedy is so dark and it works so well because it
and I love you know, this type of idiot comedies, sort of like in The Naked Gun and Scary Movie and A Haunted House and movies like that, where the comedy is so fucking absurd that I can't do anything but laugh at it.
Yeah. So, like, this movie nailed it on the comedy, nailed it on the tragedy part of it, and the sad part of it, which I don't know if it's a category or whatnot, but it all worked so well together with one another to make this movie what it is and bring forth this story and the characters along with it.
Yeah. What did you think about the acting in the film?
I didn't really mind it. It was, I think, for the characters, it did work, and even though we didn't see a lot of them, the child actors were well acted.
I thought the acting was really fucking good.
Yeah, like for child actors, they did a good job.
Yeah,
even though you didn't see like necessarily a lot of them, other than mainly Art.
I know that Art and his two brothers are real life brothers.
Oh,
and I read that these three brothers are the sons of the director and scriptwriter. I can't remember her name now. But I know that all three of them were in that movie. I can't remember the title of it. But it's a kid that befriends Adolf Hitler.
Wow.
It's a comedy. It was released 2020, perhaps 2019.
But speaking of the brothers, what like feels like a gut punch though is that on the cover of the movie you have the mother, the father, and Art, and then the twins are in the back. Like they don't look to be part of that family.
Yeah,
like that. I know why, because the focus is mainly on Art and his conflict, but it feels like such a dick move still.
Do you know who played the mother character, Nell?
Keira Knightley.
Yes.
From mostly known from Pirates of the Caribbean, I would say.
Yeah, Elizabeth Swann. She's gotten older.
Yes.
She's still hot as fuck, but you know,
like she ages very slowly and gracefully.
She's still gorgeous.
Oh yeah,
she's
definitely.
A very, 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 very beautiful woman,
and still a very, very, very good actor or actress.
Definitely. We should perhaps we should cover. I think the movie is called The Hole. It's an older movie, like 2001. I think it's kind of more of a thriller, perhaps, but we might be able to squeeze it in.
Well, we did cover this one, so.
And we've covered action movies before as well.
Yeah, so.
But yeah. One thing I did after I had watched the film was that I went on to IMDb because I was a bit curious what people thought about it, since it was categorized as a horror comedy.
Yeah.
And they have changed the categories to drama comedy, I think, since then.
Yeah, I think that's more fitting, but it also needs a, like, it's very hard to categorize this because of its darkness. And, like, one of the few dark categories we do have is thriller and horror, and it doesn't fit the thriller at all. And so,
like I said, I think this is a dark drama with some comedy bits in it.
Yeah. There should be a new category for movies that are just dark but aren't like thriller or horror. It just deals with very dark subjects, and to show those dark subjects, they don't shy away from showing the things that come up in dark things, such as maybe death and a little bit of blood.
Yeah. But like I said, I went on IMDb to check up on reviews of the film because I was a bit curious.
Yeah.
And I read a couple of reviews, and a lot of them said that Silent Night is a dull and boring movie and it's not scary at all, and yada yada yada. I personally think that this movie is hell of a lot scarier than most of the mainstream horror movies that has gotten pumped out for the past 10 years.
Like, the prospect of it is very scary.
Yeah, to be honest, this movie actually, I wouldn't say that it scared me, but it unsettled me.
Yeah.
Because, the reason it did is simply because what happens in the film might as well happen in real life if things takes an even worse turn from what they already have. Considering the situation we've had since February of this year.
Yeah.
So
and like, looking at it from a standpoint of a horror movie, it's not scary and whatnot, and so
no.
As a horror movie, it's not necessarily good, but as a movie without the horror tag, it's very good. It's to a certain degree surprisingly good.
Yeah,
sure,
I would totally agree with you.
A bit bland characters, but I think that is also a bit about the point how these everyday people are dealing with death and the end of the world.
Yeah. I mean, I highly enjoyed Silent Night. If it weren't for the podcast, I don't know if I would ever seen it, but I'm very happy that we picked this for the show.
Oh yeah.
Even though it's not a horror movie. It's well acted, it's dark, it got some humor to it, and I had a really good time watching it. It's 2 thumbs up from me.
Oh, most likely.
I will
make it 4.
Yeah, I would definitely rewatch this one at some point.
Yeah, it feels like such a movie that you can't like watch annually, because
I mean, if if you're gonna watch a Christmas movie and you want to get into the Christmas spirit and everything and so on, this might not be the perfect movie for that. This movie is kind of depressing.
Yeah, it's not a movie to make you happy. It's about to make you think and make you sad.
Yeah, sort of. But, well, my rating will be a 10 out of 10. And I don't think anyone is surprised.
I'm right there behind you. It's very well. You didn't really have a moment in it that was extremely slow, because the slow parts that they did have, they used those slow parts to just continue on with the dread of everything. They had a slow part where the guys were just out smoking, but then they used that time to like discuss the reality of it, that they were scared.
Yeah.
And they didn't want to die, and what, like, are you gonna do it? Like, of course, and everything else that would naturally come up during such a time.
I mean, the movie is... There's not a lot of action in it, yeah, just to be fair. But that doesn't matter, because you got this thing that a clock is ticking down towards.
Yeah.
And you know that for every minute in the movie, it gets closer and closer and closer and closer. And that makes up the suspense and the dread of the film.
Yeah. And it doesn't shy away to show it from you, such as with the grandma, or showing the streets just covered with it, to just like remind you that, oh, they're gonna die. Like, oh, this is happening actively, and you're just waiting for it to reach them.
Yeah, and they can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Or so they think.
Yeah. So they do believe.
Yeah. But what would your rating be?
10 out of 10, just as you. It's,
okay. I didn't...
It's just that, like, good.
Mm.
I didn't expect it to be, like, this good.
I don't know what I was expecting. I thought this would be something like what's that one called? It's a pretty new horror movie. I can't remember what the fuck it's called now. It's like from 2020. Ready or Not, perhaps it's called.
Maybe. It is a movie title. I know that.
Yeah. Oh well. I thought it was gonna be something like this family gets together for Christmas and something happens and they start to kill each other. Sort of like Secret Santa.
Yeah.
Which we covered 2 years ago.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. But
at least a few years back.
Yeah. But something by the lines of that, perhaps.
Yeah.
And then it turned out to be something completely different, but...
Yeah, it felt like it was gonna go like that. I didn't have those expectations, because you did give the bit spoiler that it wasn't a horror movie before I had a chance to watch it.
Sorry about that.
It's totally fine, to be honest. I think I did like it better that way, because then I didn't have then I didn't sit with the expectation of when is the horror happening? What is this horror that's happening?
Yeah.
and that gave me more room to enjoy what was actually happening rather than waiting for something that would inevitably never arrive.
Exactly. But okay, so one,
Yeah.
so one decent movie and a great movie this year, though.
Absolutely. I think
Um,
also because I kind of watched both of these back to back, I came from a decent movie to this Silent Night, and so I kind of had the expectations of the previous movie going into this one, which is why I was so utterly floored by how much better it was, or just how good it was, rather.
yeah.
Do we
Shall
have any
we?
background?
Oh yes, I got a couple of things here. I found more than what I have picked out, but
Yeah, and you did mention a bit beforehand about the children or
yeah,
the boys.
yeah, exactly. Silent Night had its world premiere at the 2021 Toronto International Film Festival on 16th of September in 2021. It was released on December the 3rd in the same year in the United Kingdom by Altitude Film Distribution, and in the United States by AMC Plus RLGE Films. It premiered in Sweden on April 16th in 2022, which is kind of odd. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
Christmas movie after all.
Well, fuck that, I guess.
Yes, I guess. The worldwide gross for the movie was about 429,000 US dollars. And I guess that was because of the pandemic or something.
Most likely.
It might have been a smaller premiere or something. I don't know. It didn't gross that much money, unfortunately, which it should have had.
Yeah.
The working title was Cha Cha Dance. Kira.
Oh, thank God they did went with that title. Is all I can say. It doesn't bag the quality of the movie, but man, that's such a bad title to a movie with this subject.
Yeah, and I don't really know what that title has to do with Christmas or disasters or anything.
No, I don't.
Oh well. Keira Knightley, who we previously talked about, she starred in the original Pirates of the Caribbean trilogy with Johnny Depp, and in this movie she plays opposite of his daughter, Lily Rose Depp, who played Sophie, the younger woman who were pregnant. Annabelle Wallis, who played Sandra, I think she's the one who wanted to fuck the black guy.
Okay.
Yeah. She had previously appeared in movies such as Annabelle from 2014, Annabelle Creation from 2017, The Mummy from 2017, the Tom Cruise action movie that flopped hard, and it was supposed to be the first movie in the Dark universe. They wanted to make sort of like, you know, the Marvel universe, but with the Universal monsters.
Ah, okay.
And The Mummy were supposed to be the first movie in that universe.
Okay.
But it flopped pretty bad, so...
Yeah.
It's a decent movie, but, yeah. And she also appeared in one of the best movies of 2021, in my opinion, which is called Malignant. And that is a movie we need to cover at some point. It's something.
Well, we most likely will in that case.
And she also appeared in a little movie called Steel Trap from 2007.
Oh, did she now?
Yes. And Silent Night shares a similar idea of friends gathering for a meal while the world is ending with the films It's a Disaster from 2012 and This Is the End from 2013. And that is everything I had.
Nice.
Well, so, yeah. Shall we wrap things up, perhaps?
I think we shall.
The next pick is the New Year's episode, and we are actually covering that Annabelle Wallis movie we mentioned, Steel Trap from 2007.
Oh, yeah.
And we are actually playing out with... I think this is the first time we're gonna play out with a Gabber track. It's called DJ E-Rick and Tactic, Silent Nights Are Over.
Nice.
So, yeah. I think that's it then.
Yes. Thank you, good people, for listening to this episode. And hopefully we will hear from you in the next episode.
Thanks for listening, and Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night. Bye bye.
Comes to mind.